Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Author's Quill. I hope everyone's having a wonderful day today, wherever you happen to be on our beautiful planet. I know we go out to about 150 countries, so wherever you are, Australia, I know it's Sunday afternoon over there. So I hope y'all are having a good time. To my Aussie friends, for all of our friends in the UK, it's what, about midnight? No, it's not even midnight, about 10 o'clock. So it's still early for you UK people, man. Have a cup of coffee, tune into the show, listen up. I know we have a huge audience across Asia, especially in China and in Japan. We have big audiences there. We even have audiences in Russia. You know what's funny, though? To all of our friends in North Korea, which is up to 21 now, I don't want to get y'all in trouble, okay? So I'm not going to talk about it long because I'm sure you're not supposed to be listening to us. But welcome to the show anyway. And for our friends in South Korea, welcome as well. For all of our friends down in South America, tune in. I hope you have a good day, good afternoon out there. Send me some coffee, people. It's getting expensive here. Send me some coffee over here. I'm ready for some good coffee. Matter of fact, somebody sent me some Folgers 1820. Thank you. I haven't tried it yet. I'm actually going to try it tomorrow morning. I'll let y'all know how it was. I'll have to find out who actually sent it to me, but thank you very much. It was very nice to send it. The guy who sent me the bottle, Rip Van Winkle, thank you very much, even though I don't drink often, but I will sooner or later get into that bottle. I mean, there's a bottle of Crown since I met John the first time in LA. It's still sitting back there. Tells you how much I drink. But anyway, welcome to the show, guys. I hope y'all enjoy yourselves today. So this is like, what is it? What was that damn TV show? Anyway, John, who do we have today?
So we've had Storm Humbert. This is probably your third time or fourth time on the show.
Storm's great.
Yeah, he was a winner back in 1947. So he's coming back again now.
Before the moon actually was in the sky.
Yeah, so he was in volume 36. And so that was the year we had 2 years out, right?
Yep, that was a year.
Yeah, so
that was the COVID year. So we had
my gala was canceled, so 36 and 37 came together for the workshop
because of COVID, stuff like that. So, and he's since gone on publishing house. Then Danny, this is the first time I've actually met Danny with a heavy shadow over his face. So he's still Mr. Mystery Man.
Now, just in case. He's
high. Yeah, just in case there. So we've not actually met in person or anything, but I saw his basically info on his website and on email. Was that with Kim or Julie or something like that? Was that when I first found out about you? It was like with one of my other staff.
Yeah. So originally, Wolf Moon had mentioned to me to reach out to you guys.
Wolf Moon.
Yeah.
Oh, so I love Wolf, man.
Yeah, Wolf's an awesome dude, and so I was a recent finalist, and I also run a magazine. And he's like, hey, you should mention to John and Joe and think about asking about coming on to the show. So
so his whole
book 36, ladies and gentlemen. This is
so where there's a storm in it. If you get that book, you're going to discover more about the storm.
There were some good stories in this book. There was. Now, after reading now with 70 years, they're kind of getting blurred in my head a little bit. So I got to stop sometimes and refresh myself. I mean, so far, everybody really, the authors do a really good job. But this was the first one I ever read with them. I was quite impressed with it. There was a couple of stories I was kind of like, these are short stories? Excuse me. There's just a lot of information. Guys and girls, if you can get your hands on, and I know it's still available, there's a lot of good authors and a lot of good illustrators in here as well. Yeah. In a little while, I'll pull up the illustration on Storm's story. We might even pull it up so you can see.
For his illustration of mine, he won the overall prize for illustrators for the one.
Yep, there you go. Yeah. There's a big prize, guys and girls. There's prizes, but there's the big prize if you get up there and win the good one.
One thing I'm excited about for this year, for year 42, is we break the 1,000 mark. 1,000 authors and artists published in Writers of the Future this year. So in volume 40, that was they're celebrating 4 decades, but now we're celebrating 1,000 people celebrated in Writers of the Future. And so I've been doing some research, and I can't find any other source of science fiction, fantasy, or any other thing where there have been that many people, celebrated and published by one source.
Yeah, I mean, even the major magazines probably haven't been running long enough to have those kind of numbers. Even though they publish more often, they haven't been around as long.
Or they'll take 1 or 2 Yeah, the ones that takes the new authors, but the ones the one more established that have been around forever, they get maybe one new person, a month. So it's going to take a century or more for them to be able to catch up to getting 1,000.
Yeah,
and that's just not even close on those guys. So
it's not even that it's 1,000; it's the quality of the 1,000 that you've had.
Yeah.
It goes a little bit more than just having 1,000. Anybody can rack up 1,000 people, especially in today's world. But it's the actual overall quality. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what do you mean I don't read? I've read all of these, and I've actually run 10 besides these that I've read here since 36. Well, I always read them before I go out. John sends me a copy early, and I read it. And before I go out to LA, and I usually read it on a plane because once I've read it, I can read it quite a bit faster. But you got to kind of take your time the first time you want it, because a lot of these stories are subtle. They got a lot of stuff in them. So you got to kind of take your time. You'll be surprised how packed these little 5 and 6 and 7,000 word stories are. And the first time I read it, I'm like, what? Several times. I was like, wait. I had to go back and read it again. It's great. And then I'll read them again when I get to LA when I'm doing interviews, just to have them fresh in my mind, because there's so much going on. And as Storm knows, he's been out there. It's like a whirlwind the whole time you're out there. And you were out there with 2 different groups. That was insane. I was like, God, how many people are out here? And
all the years are fun, but that was definitely a fun year. So
it was a fun year. It was a
well,
good
briefly
year.
then. So it's been 6 years, almost 6 years in, Storm. So what do you most remember from your visit out to LA?
Well, I mean, the workshop obviously was amazing, but there were also just some LA experiences, like searching out a taco truck. I remember doing that. I remember Eternals debuted that weekend, and some of the Eternals people walked through the pool bar. Some of the stars of Eternals, like Gemma Chan, walked through the pool bar right behind where I was sitting with Carrie English, Martin Shoemaker, like right behind me. I saw Taika while he was there, and so that stuff. But then, I mean, for the workshop itself, it was just the whirlwind of you don't really understand the gravity of all the people you get to meet while you're there. Tony Weisskopf was the keynote speaker for my year, the head publisher of Bain. Like that's a big deal person in the industry. And I really remember just the atmosphere of it. There's just this frantic kind of, because we do the 24-hour story while we're there, and there's this kind of charge that you get being in close proximity with so many people who are doing the same thing you're doing at the level you're doing it. And I wrote my 24-hour story. I wrote it in 7 hours so I could get back to the bar and hang out with Carrie and
damn, that's lickety-splicity, man.
and I published it in Galaxy's Edge. Like a total of probably 7 hours writing it and then 1 hour editing it, and it's in Galaxy's Edge now. And for a few weeks after that, I was doing a short story like every few days for after I got back, because I was just charged from being there and being around everybody, and kind of, just the energy of it is what I remember most, and kind of chasing that. I mean, I go to a lot of conventions now, and you kind of get it when you go to conventions, because you're, again, around your people, around people who are doing what you're doing at relatively the same level you're doing it at. But it's not the same. It's a singular experience, actually going to the gala and being a winner and going through that experience.
Yeah. So it's any particular heroes that you're able to meet?
Well, Orson Scott Card was not there my year, and he was one of the authors I was most familiar with going in.
Man,
I didn't get to meet him yet. Well, I got to meet him at Dragon Con last year because he was at the table signing.
He's a blast
for me. But I mean, Kevin J. Anderson was there, getting to meet him. Tim Powers, who I'd met him actually previously at ReaderCon, but getting to be taught by Tim Powers was amazing. And I mean, just too many people to even name. And discovering new authors whose work I've since become familiar with, like Dave Farland, was also just amazing.
If you can ever get Orson on the side by yourself, he is he's a character. We'll just say it like that. I love him to death. We've talked many times now, and he's a character. He's a lot of fun to talk to, though. He really is. And,
what I really enjoy about the Rise of the Future, because I track, you've got all the, the Larry Nivens, Kevin Anderson, Scott Cards, all these things. but I've been pretty much involved with the contests when Kevin Anderson, Dave Wolverton was like Storm Humbert is now. And I'm saying this like, so I've experienced, what it's like to track a career. And when you've got people that are really dedicated and they stick to it, how you see them grow and expand. I did with Nettie Okorafor, I did that when she was in volume 19. I just kept in touch with her and following her and maintaining a relationship with her. And gradually she grew and grew and grew, and then more popular, more bestsellers. And then I invited her to become a judge after, 15 years, but just tracking with her and just seeing how that happens. I mean, several of our judges were winners because you figure after 4 decades, you're going to have a lot of amazing, best-selling authors now, which we do, so I just know that I keep on, we just keep our relationship going, and pretty soon Storm Humbert, I do this so that Joe and I do this with you so that when you finally make that and get really big, you don't forget us.
That's right.
When we say, hey, Storm, remember us?
Yeah.
We want priority in the red carpet, man.
But then now, Danny, so you found out about this through Wolf Moon. So what's been your journey as an author, and what led you to create a magazine?
Yeah, so I started writing, this was over 20 years ago, and I was a teenager. And actually, I write mostly memoir. And I started out back when I was in high school, there you go, right there. Yep, Joe's showing it on screen. Great book. Yeah,
this is my personal copy, so you don't ask people. You ain't getting it. This is the only one I got left.
Yep. So I absolutely loved high school. It was me and my buddies, and we would just go around pranking each other, pounding down McDonald's on the weekends and playing video games, just doing a bunch of nonsense. And after we graduated, everybody was going off to college. I was starting my apprenticeship to become an electrician. And I just kind of saw my, young adult life, that coming to a close. And I just thought, man, I don't want to forget about all these great times that we had. So I started writing these things down, turning them into stories, and I passed them around to my buddies, and they just loved it. They absolutely thought it was the best thing in the world. Like, oh, write about this one, write about that one. And so I thought, well, if there's a difficult demographic to capture with the written word, it's got to be young adult males. And if these guys are digging what I'm writing, maybe I should keep doing this. So, years and years of doing this, just getting better, getting a handful of things published here and there, but life just being extremely busy. I run my own business now. We just had our 4th kid. It's life is a lot. It's a lot, right? And I also run this on the side from having my own business as well. So I don't do a whole lot of submitting anymore, although I do make time for the occasional Writers of the Future submission. That one's worth it. But about 5 years ago, I just kind of got this idea after years of posting these stories on Facebook and seeing just the reactions of people. They always wanted more. Like, where can I read your stuff? Where can I read your stuff? And I, say well, you can awkwardly scroll through my Facebook feed or do something like that. So I started a website, just a way to kind of I'll put a few stories on here. Maybe I'll just send out one a month, kind of go from there. And then it just kind of morphed into a contest, and then we had a regular submission period, and the next thing we're publishing one story a month. We're illustrating the story, and we've got 12,000 subscribers now. We're paying really, really well, and it's just become a cool, amazing thing. And I'm loving it. Although sometimes you pull your hair out, and that's why I have the shadow here. Because if I take this off, man, you're going to be blinded by the light coming down off my bald head. But
I don't feel bad.
So that's how I've gotten to this stage. And it's funny how I met. So Wolf Moon is through my friend David Hankins. He actually lives 15 minutes down the road from me. He won Writers of the Future in the year that I made a submission and was a semifinalist. And so
David was last week, wasn't he? I'm sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, you're fine. So so they did a big article in the paper about it, and then my aunt was like, "Hey, you're in the paper," and I'm like, "Really?" So she sent it to me, and then sure enough, I'm like, "Oh, it's awesome that this guy is right here in this town." And so we've gotten to know each other, been good friends ever since. And he's part of Wolf Moon's writers group, and it's been great to get to know some of these people in the speculative realm, and just kind of enjoying the ride.
That's cool. That's a great story. Yeah. So it's it's what I really enjoy about this and this show specifically is like, we're going to end up with, we're pushing between 3.8 and 4 million listeners on this show.
That's incredible.
And we have a lot of writers and people that want to be writers. And the thing that best communicates is that, there's no like, this is the formula, this is the way you do it. You've got Storm, you got your thing that you've done. Danny, you got the thing that you've done, and you find your little niche and how you take it and branch it out there. Like Storm won and he got published, but then he went and started, his first book was on, these are the people that didn't win, right? Isn't that what the first book was?
Well, so our Calendar of Fools, our first anthology was actually a collection of short stories that were accompanied by craft essays because we wanted to help aspiring authors. So how it worked is you'd read a story, then the author would give you a craft essay that would take apart a certain aspect of that story and kind of show you how they did it, show you kind of like taking a watch apart and show you how the gears move.
Yeah.
Like, for example, my essay was about how to execute wonder on the page. So you read my story, you see a piece of wonder happen, then I kind of take it apart for you and show you like what the components are and how it moves, how it works. That was our first project. The most recent one, that was edited by Zach B., who was a winner in my year as well. Yeah, the one that's most recent is called Intergalactic Rejects, and that's the one I'm editing. And that is an anthology based that only includes rejected stories, with the idea that we also wanted to help aspiring authors deal with, because when you write short fiction, especially, mostly what you get is rejection.
Yep.
And so we wanted to give them kind of a totem or a thing they could have in their house. And when they get a bunch of rejections, kind of go to it and read a story and be like, all these stories were rejected anywhere from 1 to 60 times. And they're all this good. So my story could be this good. And there's a million reasons you get rejected, and quality and content is only a couple of them. So just kind of that peace of mind, just kind of,
clarify that a bit there, what you just said.
About what?
About that quality is quality and content is only a couple of them. Like other reasons, because people just they, granted, you've got to get your skin thickened up a bit, but self deprecation of like I can't write isn't necessarily the right conclusion.
Right, because especially when you're submitting to magazines or specifically anthologies, lots of magazines have their kind of aesthetic. They have their kinds of stories they like. So you should read them and kind of know what they like before you submit, so you can kind of gauge your expectations, but also understand that magazines have an acceptance rate anywhere from 0.5 to 1.5%, depending on, for the really high, like standard rate paying magazines, like from Clarksville down to Asimov's and Analog and stuff like that. So your odds already aren't good. And so you just need to understand that quality isn't the only thing that goes into an editor rejecting or accepting your story. It can be things like, we've published 3 werewolf stories already this year, and I don't want to hold this one for 7 months so I can put another werewolf story in, so we're not doing this one. Or, I'm sick of time travel stories, I'm not doing one for a while because we've done so many recently. Or this is just really similar to a famous story that we have already published, so I don't want this also in our catalog, because it's just, there's all kinds of things to consider that editors consider when they're making these calls. And with anthologies, it's even more specific, because they only can accept 12 total for this entire thing, 12 to 15 or whatever total for this entire theme. So in that case, especially, like if it's a really broad fantasy kind of theme, and they're like, well, we already have 2 vampire stories, and while this is a really good story, I can't take a 3rd vampire story, and it's my 3rd favorite one. So there's all kinds of reasons that good stories get rejected. And so we wanted to print the anthology to, one, show that to aspiring authors, but also as we started going through the process, it became, for me anyway, about rescuing as many stories as possible, because I read for Clarksville for 5 years. I was a slush reader there. And so the one thing that you realize when you read, and then also when you're submitting for short fiction marketplaces, is that there's no resubmission unless they request it. So what can happen to great stories is it gets a near miss, editor's desk rejection at 5, 6, 7, 8 markets, and then there's nowhere else for it to go to get paid a decent rate. So it just languishes. And so there is this kind of pit at the bottom of the genre short fiction marketplace, and great stories do fall in there. And we pulled 13 of them out with the call. And there's still plenty of good ones left in there. So I hope someone else does it.
Yeah, and that's to say nothing too of editor just preferences in general too.
Right.
I mean,
Their taste.
Everybody's got different tastes and everybody's got different things that they want to see. And quality, I mean, it's kind of a liquid term.
Yeah.
I think there's, you can point to things. I mean, like, look, we can look back at like John Steinbeck and say, like, almost everyone with a brain can say that's really high quality level.
Right.
But then you can look at other things and, someone can love this story or love this movie and the next person might not. So it's hard to gauge even that to say, what is quality? Is there something transcendent about it? Or sometimes there's just something where it hits a certain audience and it may not hit another one. And right. All these things are difficult to gauge. So again, just because you get rejected doesn't mean that you're a bad writer or this story is terrible. You got to keep grinding on. And that's what probably the hardest thing about doing the writer circuit is just this grind, submit, reject. And so many times you don't get any feedback from that because we're busy. We don't have time to respond to every single story that comes through. And so you may have been actually pretty close, but you never knew it because it's how it is.
That's one thing that we implemented with Writers of the Future several years ago. As the number of entries kept on mounting, we implemented the honorable mention, silver honorable mention, semifinalist, finalist, and winner. And so it gives also a gauge to the writer to know, am I getting better or not? Because they submit. Yep. And then once you get honorable mention, now you're in the top 10 percentile. Yep. And then you get to silver, and then you get to semifinalists. So it's a gauge that like, okay, I'm improving. But no matter what, you will always get a response from Writers of the Future, even if it's just an email saying, thank you very much for submitting. Please submit again. That's the worst that's going to happen.
Yep.
So everybody's guaranteed to get that within.
And John, one of the things that has really struck me, I'm an extrovert. And so there's a lot of things that I've learned. And writers typically are on the introverted side. And one of the things that really has amazed me is how many writers will never submit because they're afraid of that rejection. And one of the things that I really did, like on our website and even with the submission process, like just reading the page, it's lengthy, but it's very clear and it's very humorous. We even have videos of like several actors like Meredith from The Office and David Wallace doing videos for us just to like lighten the mood to get authors to feel comfortable submitting, because I have received so many emails over the years from people saying, I was so terrified of submitting this to somebody else, but because the way that you had this worded, I felt safe putting my story in your hands, even if it's just to get a rejection. Like, it blew my mind that people were, that afraid of rejection. Again, it's not like it's being announced to the world. It's just a private thing. That totally blew my mind. And that's kind of changed how I, proceed and how our magazine moves forward in a way that, like, we want people to feel comfortable. We want you to know that like your story's in good hands, whether you get accepted or not. That's
let me tell you. I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead, Stone.
I think the more experience you get as a writer, the more you realize that those rejections are really good. Like, you don't want to be associated as a writer with a bad story. So if an editor is rejecting your story because of quality, because it's not what it should be or could be, that's still good for you. Like, editors are helping you out by not publishing your stories that are not up to your standard or are not up to their standard. So regardless of why you get a rejection, whether it's a qualitative thing or whether it's a quantitative thing, like too many werewolf stories, too many vampire stories, whatever, just don't let it crush you, because ultimately I think you have to have faith that your good stories will be found, or that they'll find their audience or their editor, and that your bad stories are being kept from the public for your own good.
Yeah.
So,
well, and
things are good.
100%. And to riff off of that too, the other thing is, what I've seen a huge divide in the type of writers that submit. There are the serious ones who are focused on the story and making that the best it can be. And then there are the not serious ones who are focused on themselves, and they want to get published. It's not that they want to write the best stories. They care about getting published. And they're the ones that don't succeed because they're not willing to do the hard work, and they take it personally. Like, if I give a critique to somebody, the point isn't to tear you down. The point is to say, this is what works, this is what doesn't, and you need to fix the problems to make it work, to make it publishable, just like what you're saying. The point is to make it the best possible version of itself so that most people can read and enjoy it. But I think this is kind of like an arc of overall society where we've gotten away from excellence. We've gotten away from the hard road that it takes. Doesn't matter the craft. It can be playing basketball. It can be an electrician working on a construction site, doesn't matter what it is. It takes hard work and a lot of training to get to the point of where you can produce something that's really well done versus the people that just want to play the game. They want the fame, the fortune that comes with it, but they don't want necessarily the hard work and kind of the I don't know, the shots that you take, realizing that, hey, I need work. I need to change my writing. You know, that's tough.
If you're getting into writing for the money, you don't really understand.
Well, exactly. Exactly. But a lot of people, like, they think that they because they're on the outside looking in and they see, you know, they see the top 1% of the top 1%.
Right.
They see Stephen King. They, you know, that's what they see.
George R. R. Martin,
and again, exactly. We can laugh at that because we know, like, I haven't made a dime or I've made money, but from what I've spent over 20 years of doing this, I haven't turned a profit. Like, I do it because I love it and I have good stories to tell. Maybe someday that'll change, but you know, it is what it is. So
one thing that's interesting too, like with Rise of the Future, addressing your earlier point there, Danny, the judges only ever see a number. They have no idea who you are. So all they're seeing is a number associated with the story. So, you know, one of the things we let people know, artists seem to be a little bit more sensitive about that. All the illustrator judges ever see is a number as well with the art. So there's no association of a name with the art. So if they're concerned about, well, I don't want somebody to get a bad impression of me to start with. So, well, they're not, because they have no idea who it is that they're judging. It's just a number. So when you win, that's when the names get associated. And when we talk to the judges, you know, they'll say, I read the story I liked. I had no idea who the winner was. So you're the one that wrote that? Oh, that was a really nice story. You know, it's funny how that comes up because they don't know who it is.
Yeah. Well, and again, too, it just kind of goes back to, there's so much, I think, naivete to like newer writers coming in where it's, and I get it. Like, it's a whole industry and you can't expect it to just be to know the inner workings of all of it, even if you've been around for years and years. But the idea of, you know, submitting a story and it gets rejected and that the editors are going to like, reading thousands of submissions every year. You're not like, it's just, it's in one ear out the other, you know, and you move on to the next one. And the handful that you do work with, those are the ones that you remember.
I mean, Neil Clark, he wrote the foreword for the Intellectual Rejects anthology, and he talks about like stories. And the main reason that stories get rejected from Clark's world anyway, and he gets more subs per month than anybody else, is that they fail to stand out from the blur of stories that he is reading. Like, don't worry about making a bad impression if you don't think like this isn't like your best, most polished story, because if it's not memorable, they won't remember you. So like most no editor, I don't remember any of the bad stories I read from Clark's World. I remember the good ones. And so don't worry about making a bad impression, because the impressions only get, like, bad impressions don't stick. They're not name associated. There's only the good ones that stand out from the slush pile that you work through and do edits with that you're going to remember.
I only ever remember the good ones, except when I buy one because it had a really good cover and the story sucked. I'm like, all right.
I do remember occasionally if you buy a novel or something, you're so excited about it, and then it's just you throw it against the wall because it's so bad. Oh my gosh, you feel like
novels
it's like that's different, right? That's because you feel
a
short fiction is different, but if it's a novel, it's like I got stolen from. You know, it's like back in the day. Remember when we used to have CDs, you know, and you'd buy one and you had that one song that you heard on the radio. It's like, oh, of course they're gonna be, this CD's gonna be great. So then you slip it in there and like every single song after that is just trash. And you're like, I just got robbed. Come on, I want my 12.
Yeah, because CDs were they're expensive. But you know, I was listening to you earlier, so I'm gonna tell you a little secret. When a writer wins, they become extroverted, and I mean big time. So when we do interviews at Writers of the Future, I can't shut up authors for nothing. I can't, and I'm not being mean. It's just we'll get into an interview and instead of running like 15 or 20, they'll run hour 40, 2 hours.
Yeah.
Now I get a damn illustrator up there. I'm lucky if I get 15 minutes out of them. They're like, oh, Joe, yeah. I'm like, come on, talk. They're like, it's crazy. It's funny, but I've done so many now that it's kind of a thing now.
That's really interesting. Well,
but that's
okay.
But I think it's because of the win.
Yeah, but but if it's because of the win, I'm super curious about this because I work with artists and illustrators all the time, artists, illustrators, writers all the time. What would you? But they're all artists. They're just operating in a different medium. So what would you? Again, I'm always operating via email, so I don't have that same kind of touch point that you do. What would you say is the driving point, because they're both winning, or is it like maybe I'm misunderstanding
there's a couple of things. One, the illustrators tend to be younger. The authors are usually in their 30s to 40s, sometimes a little older. So they're more comfortable, and they're more comfortable sitting there talking to me, because I'm asking all kind of questions from what we're talking about to impertinent questions. Just no telling what's going to come out of my mouth. I'll tell you. And but they'll sit there and talk with, and I'm not kidding you. I really have a hard time getting them to stay at a 30-minute limit. It's usually an hour and a half before I can get them to get off, so we can go do the next person. And you'll see sometimes when there's 4 or 5 people in the room, they're all like, why won't this guy shut up? But the illustrators, no matter what, if I've had maybe 2 illustrators that actually did more than an hour, most of them 15, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, they're done.
That's interesting.
Well, writers are into words. Writers are like, their medium is words. And illustration, it's paint, or it's
visual.
Photoshop, something like that. So there's a difference there too. So like, an author is used to putting words together to communicate, whereas an illustrator, even when you talk to them, when they're in the lectures being taught, you see them, they're constantly sketching.
But you writers are pumped up at Writers of the Future. I mean, y'all are pumped up, so you want to talk. You want to talk about, I mean, you've been meeting famous people. You've been listening to some of the best authors on the planet. When you finally get a chance to sit down and get in front of the camera, you're ready. Mm-hmm. You want to talk, and we talk about a lot of things. I mean, we cross a lot of different topics when you're there for a winter, and it is hard. It is hard. I mean, because I thought everybody was going to be inverted, because they're just artists in general. But no, that's not what I found. I found that the authors are much more extroverted. They really want to talk. They really want to share, which is great for me, because I don't have to do any work. I can just sit there. And but the illustrators are just it's I like it like that. I mean, it's nice, it's comfortable. Now I couldn't tell you. Well, I can tell you that we just started doing this 2 years ago. We bring on everybody before I meet them.
Yeah, that's really
LA.
cool.
So it helps y'all to meet each other. Also helps me to get familiar with them. And everybody's a little bit more introverted the first time they get up on the camera and talk. Yeah. But once I get used to me, once y'all get used to me, I can't shut y'all up. But that's a good thing. Some lady said, well, you're being insulting. I said, no, I'm not, actually. I said, I like people, because it's work for me when I have to talk with an illustrator, except for maybe Echo. Yeah. The teachers are not, and I'm friends with several of the teachers, so they'll get up there and chat with me. Yeah. And like when I had Tom Wood, Echo Chernick, and Larry Elmore sitting on the thing. No, I couldn't shut them up for nothing. And then one time I had saying no, they can talk, but that's not how, because they've now been out in the world. They've gotten used to it, because you have to sell yourself. Mm-hmm. If you're going to be all meek and quiet, you're going to have a hard time selling yourself. Yeah. And people don't have quite as much respect for somebody that is, I mean, when I'm talking on a sales point of view, that you have to pull something out of. They prefer when they walk up and ask you a question that you answer the question.
Oh yeah, answer
however you answer it. It doesn't matter how you answer it, just answer the damn question. But I found, being a contractor, that it shares a lot of things with y'all, because we have to do bids. It's hard to walk up and give somebody a contract and say, hey, I want $500,000 from you. I want $500,000. I want $1 million. You're thinking, can you actually get this? Should you even be asking for that? And but it comes to a point where you have to. I mean, if you want to make it in the world and you want to get ahead in the world, you have to do it. And I've noticed with the authors, it just seems to be easier for them. Now, a lot of times the illustrators get some advantages, because artwork has a tendency to sell itself. A book, you have to actually sit and read, you know, and you have to take your time. Now, I don't have time to read books, so I have John and them, or anybody, send me audio books, because it's much easier for me. Yeah. See, I want to go through the book, but if for every, and it's such a show, because we interview a lot of other authors. If I had to read every author that came on this network, I would never get anything else. That's all I'd be doing.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And so with the audio, I can do what I'm doing. Be doing something at work, setting up archives, something, and listening to the stories. And I get more out of it for some reason too when I listen to them. I don't know why. Maybe it's just my brain has started functioning that way over the years, but it's a much easier thing for me.
Well, it's a totally different. It's a totally different medium too, because I found, like, when I write stories, I'm generally writing them to be read. But if I write a story, like, we have a podcast, I'll do occasional ones where I'll tell my own stories. If I'm writing one where I'm audibly telling it, I write it differently. It's a totally different.
We have a couple of Writers of the Future writers on this network that with their podcast. We also have Echo Chernick on here, which is one of the teachers. She teaches off the network, so it's kind of nice. She does. Matter of fact, she's on before this show. It's called The Professional. She actually teaches you how to do your skill. Now, Sean Hannig does. He's one of the writers, actually two of the writers, but he's not talking anything about authors. He's talking about, I don't know, sci-fi, crazy. I don't know what the hell he's talking about half the time, but it's his show, so he can talk about whatever he wants. We don't tell people what they can talk about.
Joe, I got a quick question for you. So you mentioned you're a contractor. Are you like general contracting?
General contractor, yeah.
Okay. So here's one thing that I've noticed. Obviously, I'm an electrician. I've been running my own business for 12 years now. I've been in the trades for 20. One of the things that I've noticed about writing, and especially now, I've read thousands of author bios, and I can count, I think, on one hand how many tradesmen that are writing somewhat seriously. And even the ones that submit, it's like you almost never see that.
You know what that is? Well, no, go ahead. Finish.
No, I'm curious. So, like, how would you say that you are interested in this stuff, and why is that? And obviously, I am. There are a few of us out there, but why would you say that there's such a?
Well, I was raised in a family where we had to read. My mom made us learn one big word a day, and she expected us to read a book a week. And I went to private school, and we read lots and lots and lots of all the classics, and then all kind of other stuff. But what I've learned with people who work in the fields, if you give them a book, that book is going to sit on their desk 10 years. You give them an audio clip, they'll listen to it. They'll listen to it at work while we're working. Because I started bringing in audio books, and these guys plug it in their thing, start listening while we were at work, and they enjoyed it. But they were not going to sit down and read a book. I don't know if it was a lack of imagination. I don't want to say that because that's being cruel to. Yeah. Because I work with a lot of different contractors, but when you give them the audiobook, they will listen to the audiobook and they will enjoy. You'll hear them over there giggling. They're like, "What the hell? No way!" And I'm like, "What? Did you break something?" He's like, "No, I'm listening to that stupid audiobook you gave me."
Well, I think one of the things too is like I said, it goes back. It's a different language, versus reading versus listening. And an observation that I would say is relevant is that the tradesmen that I know, they're actually on a whole, they're more natural storytellers than most of the writers that I read. They're better.
They can tell some whoppers, man.
Exactly, but they don't take it to the written word. That's not their medium. And so it's like if you want to reach someone, you got to speak their language. And so they're operating. And again, I think part of it too is the practicality. Like same thing. Like you don't see a lot of farmers that are writers. That's not to say anything about farmers or trade. These are incredible.
But see, that's another one. But if you give an audio book, they'll listen. See, that's the difference now. And I've been telling a lot of my friends that are writers, and I said, look, start thinking about audiobooks. It's a thing of the future. It's a thing of now, actually, but it's a thing coming in the future because life is too busy these days to sit down and read a book. Now, see, my wife, she reads like 5 billion words a second. So you give her a book, she's like, I'm like, you done?
Mine.
Yeah. I'm like, what do you mean you're done? She said, yeah, I need a new book. I'm like, what are you even I look at her like, you're fucking kidding me, right? And she's like, no, I mean, she's through the book. So, and she likes to read. She likes the tactile sensation, the feel in the book and the paper in her hair. Yep. But for me, it's much easier if I'm driving. Like I used to have an hour driving back and forth to New Orleans from where I live now. I'd plug one in. John said, anybody send me an audiobook, I'd listen to it. Matter of fact, that's how I listened to Mission Earth. It took me, I forgot, like a year to listen to 10 books. But still, I actually went back a couple of times too, because I would forget stuff and I'd go back and listen. But for people in professional fields, it is much easier for them to listen to something than it is for them to read it. Absolutely. And another reason why is when you're putting in 15 hours a day, 50, 60 hours a week, you don't want to spend your weekend reading.
You don't have the time.
But you will listen while you're out with your kids or doing whatever. You'll just put it in one ear and listen. And I see a lot of that now. A lot of them really enjoy the audiobooks. And the way John and them put it together, because they got sound effects and all kind of stuff that goes with them. You want to read them. You want to listen to them. But really, it doesn't even matter. If it's somebody's got a good voice, and I've talked to a few of my contractors about this. If someone's got a good voice, they'll sit and listen. You can't do like, Microsoft Sam or something like that. They're going to throw the shit thing in the garbage. But if you've got a voice,
Microsoft Sam,
Mike, you don't remember Microsoft Sam? That's how you used to read. You put word up there, they would read you. Hello, Howard. No, man, I can't do that. But there's so many good people out there that are making books. And then of course, there's AI. We're gonna.
Well, it's also audiobooks versus reading. When you do have to read and you're parsing the words yourself without anybody reading it to you, it is extra labor. So I mean, when you have an audiobook, you're just
it's true.
Mental labor, physical labor, it's all labor, it's all tiring. So when you have a good skilled narrator who's going to read it to you how it's supposed to be read, because I mean, there's plenty of times when you're reading something and it doesn't hit you at the first time you go back and read it, you got to reinterpret it. It's all mental labor. So audiobooks reduce your mental labor for enjoing a narrative, which is
that's true. That's true. And for
we
people like me, it's really good.
One thing we did that we learned when we did our stories from the Golden Age, which were these 153 stories that were written in the 30s and 40s, we found that our audiobook, which is unabridged with Hollywood actors and all the sound effects, people in English second language were able to listen to this because that also gave them the ability to know how the words sounded, and they could read along as they're listening. And English is just a frustrating language to learn, even as a person who that's my first language. It's very frustrating with the arbitraries that are just, they never end. So coming in from a different language and a different language base, like, the Middle East versus Orient, or even the Romance languages, it's, somebody that knows this German, maybe they can appreciate it better because that's where we came from. But the other languages, it's really rough. So listening to how the words sound and how they fit together makes a big difference. So we were very successful, especially in the Middle East, with our Stories from the Golden Age. People would listen to the audiobook and read the book along with it. That was a big thing when we released these things in the early 2010s.
I mean, I enjoy reading when John sends me the books for the contest. I enjoy reading them. I'd still rather have them on audiobook, but I enjoy reading them. And you know why? Because on the airplane, I could plug it in and listen to it while I was doing something else, setting something up or getting interviews set up for when I got into LA. So, but I still, even I kind of like the tactile sensation of reading, but it's not time relevant for me. I just don't have that kind of time.
Yeah.
Of course, like I said,
I have a podcast that I do, the Rise to Future podcast, which you've been on
I don't know how
before,
John
and
does
you've
that.
been on Joe. And so I'm reading about a book a week. And one thing that happens with me, like I'm almost done listening to a book by Jerry Riddle, A.G. Riddle, who's a very popular writer, and I don't have him back on as a guest. I'm listening to the audiobook, and I enjoy the audiobook because I can do that while I'm doing other things, like you're saying, not attention specific, but like if I'm cleaning or whatnot, I can, listen to, or driving, I'll put one earbud in an ear, but I can read way faster than I can listen. And so getting ready, having to get through a book a week, if I read, I can make it through that book a week, whereas listening to it, maybe
you are stuck to the person reading the book to you. So
even I put it 1 1/4, I can't handle it much faster than that, because then it just sounds too weird. It's too much of a distraction.
It's a blur.
No, thank you.
I wish I could do audiobooks. I can't, because my ADD, I get something and I'm zoned out looking at that for 5 minutes and I miss too much of the story. I got to rewind. So I can't really enjoy audiobooks, but I do. I mean, I think there's a reason that they're so popular, and that's because they reduce the labor it takes to enjoy these works, and they're just so convenient. And when you get a good narrator, it does add to this. Like my story that's in Writers of the Future, Stolen Sky, was reprinted in Cast of Wonders, and they also do it in audio. It's my only story that's currently in audio, and it has a female narrator. The main character's female. It just adds something to it.
Mm-hmm. And again, that was the artwork right there. There it goes.
That's the winning artwork right there. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's great. That's really well done.
That character in the foreground there is never described in the story. An Lee created that just because that's how he wanted her to look.
Yeah, it's good artwork. I mean, so while we're on that little subject, so they got to reveal, ladies and gentlemen. We talk about this a lot. It amazes me that you authors can walk in, look at the artwork, and know it's yours. I mean, it goes to your book. I have yet, and this is 7 times now I've been with them, I have yet to see anybody not get it right. I guess they know their stories, they know their artwork. It's still amazing though, man, because I'm looking at some of this art, I'm going, well, which freaking book did this? I've read the stories 3 times at this point.
I remember doing it. And I remember, because as they're going through, as you're walking, like there's some like that could be mine, that could be mine. But as soon as you see the one that is yours, automatically know that one is mine. Because like you're trying to make connections, so you see something that's matched your story exactly, and you're like, no, that one's mine. That one's for sure mine.
For people that don't know what we're talking about, it's like we have a thing that happens at the workshop, because you have the illustrator workshop and the writer workshop, 2 separate workshops. And so we've now moved it closer to the beginning of the workshop, the first day where everybody's there. And so we set up all the art on easels in a room, and then all the illustrators were standing around the side of the room. And then we open the doors and we let the writers walk in. And the illustrators are all quiet. Everybody's quiet, and they just have to walk through. And they
don't want to be quiet though.
They find their art, and as soon as they find their art, then that's the cue for the illustrator to come up and introduce themselves. And it's amazing. It's one of the most emotional events of the whole week.
It is that, and I got to go back to that 24-hour story with his 7 hours. I was there that first year when you were there, and I was Tim Walters at that. Tim Walters. Sorry, guy. I'm thinking about somebody else. But anyway, Tim Powers had asked me to take some shots because y'all were down in a lot of people were down in the bar area, and I was up standing in the mezzanine. So I was up there with a camera.
This is at the Roosevelt Hotel.
Yeah, this was when we were at the Roosevelt because we're at the Lowe's right now. But watching these people's faces, some of these faces you seen like was, oh my God, can I just go jump off in bridge right now? And I go ask people, well, how about your story? Well, Joe, I wrote it, threw it in the garbage, wrote it, threw it in the garbage. Woke up at 4 in the morning, wrote it again, threw it in the garbage. Woke up at 5:30. I'm gonna get this thing done before I gotta go downstairs. It was hilarious, but it is also funny to me. I shouldn't say funny, but how many of these 24-hour stories get sold? I was surprised by that.
Almost all.
Yeah. Now, I was really surprised by that, and it shows you, people can write under pressure, and they can write well under pressure. So. It's a nice thing.
In an environment too, where you're surrounded by creatives. It's like for most people, they've never been in such an environment. You've never been around so many other writers, and they're the judges who themselves are like the top of the industry. And then you got the illustrators that they're also. You have so much creative juice in one place. There, it's just like it's just people just like really shine.
But there's some undercurrent like wavelength that's just like permeating through everybody.
Yeah.
Well, and it's kind of like, you ever done the co-working thing where you have stuff to do and you go get in a space with somebody else who has work to do, even if it's different work, and you're just more productive.
Yeah.
But everyone's co-working for that 24-hour, like you're out in this shared spaces of the hotel, and you see them working, you're like, I should be working too. And so it kind of keeps you on task, knowing that they're doing the same thing you're doing, so you should be doing it too, like no breaks kind of thing.
Yeah. And you're in an environment too where you've got the judges and everybody from the contest. For the first time, possibly for many people, you got people that totally believe in you, that totally know that you have what it takes. You've made the cut. You're now, the judges treat you as somewhat as equals, but they treat you as pros. They welcome you into the ranks, and that's got to be a rush. To be able to have that recognition that you've been striving for however many years, and now you've made that. So there's a definite sense of validation, which also goes a long way.
Yes. What was that, Christopher? No, the 24-hour story is what we're talking about. It's something they do to teach the winners that, look, you can actually write. You don't have to take 6 months to write a book. You can sit down and write a book. And I was having dinner with Chris one afternoon, Mr. Blue Eyes, I like to call him. And he had his roommate down there, and they started writing. So I said, I'm going to leave you. I'm like, no, sit and talk. So we're all three talking. They're writing away while the three of us are talking. Yeah. And all of a sudden, I look up. They're done, both of them. I'm like, you're kidding me, right? He said, Rustin, I ain't reading that. He said, come on, Joe, it's not that long. Read it. That stuff was actually damn good. I said, well, I guess Tim and them will be happy. They see you. And, we had Todd and why not? Never read
Todd is Todd McCaffrey and Dean Wesley Smith.
And these two were, giving these guys hell. And it was funny to me because, sometimes the teachers don't always agree. And Todd, he didn't agree much, but it was very, very fun watching it. And I realized, because of my first year there with him, I realized this was a really good thing for the writers because it showed more than one venue, one avenue to go down. Because not everybody is going to be the same. So now they're giving you different avenues to go down. And I was like, well, this is actually really good. And ladies and gentlemen, when I say fight, I don't mean it was mean or anything. They got a little rough with each other, but these guys know each other pretty well. And they were just kind of bouncing back. Dean said, no, you don't got to do all that. You just do this. Right. God says, no, this works better like this. And it's a lot of fun to listen.
They're showing you that the career, like choosing your career paths or how you're going about it, is not like a multiple choice test where you're trying to find the right answer. It's more like, a bar exam where there could be
Yeah.
6 right answers, and it's finding the most right answer for your position, for your scenario.
It works really well. I'll tell you
Yes,
that.
Storm Humbert is a a Okay, go ahead.
I work in a law firm. I'm not a lawyer.
Close enough, man. Close enough.
My wife is a lawyer.
It's well, I mean, Jody and Tim do it themselves. They go back and forth. They don't always agree either. And
yeah, well, Tim likes the traditional route. Dean Wesley Smith is so like that's the bane to the existence of the writer is the traditional route. You should do the independent self-published line there. And so you've got Todd has got both sides. He's got his dragon series is all traditional, but his other stuff that he does is indie, you know. And Kevin Anderson has traditional, but he started his own press because when his stuff went on when it goes out of print, then he had to work out getting rights back so he could keep the books in print, you know, because they won't do that. They're always looking. There's between 3 and 4 million books published a year. So, one, there's a lot of tripe in that, but then 2, there's no need for the publishers to kind of like, I don't need to go back and find backlist stuff. I keep on doing, you know, more front list, unless it's you're referring to Stephen King and that type of an author, where once they come with a new book, then the backlist all of a sudden fills up again. So that's you know, you've got all these different things, and some people like, I'm too shy, I'm too this, I don't want to do social media, I don't want to promote my own stuff, I just want to get someone else to do that for me, someone to do traditional. Others are like, no, I'm going to go for the 90% of the income of my sales, not the 15%.
I'm a firm believer in social media. I have 45 pages now.
Yeah.
So, and it works very well. Matter of fact, I was advertising John yesterday. People, y'all can't vote today. Never mind. Oh, yeah, you can actually. If you're in the 500 winners, because I know some of y'all listen to the show. If you're in the 500 people, and they take 500 people from the ones that submit. Y'all remember, vote for John. I know y'all's names. I know where you live, people. I will send my pet alligator to visit. You better watch yourself. I'm just warning you. Just warning you. Get out there. John's got Writers of Future is up for award with People's Choice Podcast Awards.
Yeah.
And he needs to win.
He does.
Yes. I'm tired of all these things.
He's shy and demure. So now, Storm, now your writing process that you're going now. So are you still keeping going with your own personal stories, or are you trying to go more and more into being the publisher?
No, I do both. I just recently got an agent. I'm represented by Stacy Condla now.
So congratulations.
Thank you. We're polishing up my novels. We're hoping to get them out here sometime this month, get the final edits done so she can start trying to sell them. I'm also finishing up another novel in a different universe because at Superstars, my first year I went to Superstars writing seminars in Colorado Springs. I got to sit down with Jonathan Mayberry, and he's like, for a career like mentoring session, and he asked me what I'd done, and I said, well, I've won Writers of the Future, and I published a lot of short stories, and now I'm writing this series of novels. He's like, write the first book. It's like, just do that, then write another first book in a different series, then write another first book in a different series. It's like, until someone buys a basket, don't put any more eggs in it than you have to. It's like, keep writing keep writing new worlds, new things to sell to people. And then once someone buys one, then fill the basket up with eggs, then write the other books. So I've been writing the first book in a bunch of different series, one of which I ended up not liking at all. So I spent about 4 months writing that book, and I hate it. So I'm not going to go any further with it. But what I'm working on now, I really, really love. The one that Stacy picked me up for, I really love. And the one I'm working on now, I also really, really love. It's a anti-generative AI allegory that uses necromancers, and I'm really, really excited about it.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah.
That's definitely. Oh no, I was a geek before I met these guys. No, trust me, they did not turn me into geek. I actually know a lot about writing now after spending 7 years with these people and listening to these judges. You'd be so. I didn't even when I first went out there, I was like, "What's that? What the hell are they talking about? What is that?" They'd say words. I'm looking at them like, "What?" Anyway, I was ignorant. Let's just put it that way. I've learned quite a lot since then. But you know, I noticed a lot of people, or a lot of people are scared a lot of times when it comes to publishing. Because by the way, I keep an agent myself when I want to feel like doing lectures. That's how I get my lecture tour going. I'll have them go out and do it, mainly because I'm lazy. But it helps. I'm just saying, for anybody who's out there, it does actually help. because they have connections that you don't. Matter of fact, some of our guests we do on other shows, we have an agent that does that as well. She's quite good. She's another Michelle. It's two Michelles I work with, but it does come in really handy. I mean, they can help you in ways you wouldn't even realize. And mine likes to go out and do publicity work, which is really nice. I'm like, oh, you're gonna go do what? Yeah, go ahead. She said, you gonna do some signings? Some signing what? She said, Joe, you did 3 lectures at colleges. You got to do some signings. I'm like, where? And she said, come to the college with me, sit in the chair. Like, but that's a little different for me because I have to answer certain specific questions when I'm doing a signing. So it's a little bit different, but it's a lot of fun. And like I said, I don't have to do it. They do it. They just set it up. I just get pretty and go out there and have some fun. You know, hey, it's what you do. I mean, if you want to get famous, it's what you got to do. And
you bring the alligator with you?
Sometimes. I bring him with me sometimes. Actually, Martha goes with me everywhere. So that's my 9mm I carry with me. Her 31 round clip. She travels everywhere with Daddy. But it's the first agent I ever had. She said, I really like you, but I can't help you. She said, but I got a friend that can. And she hooked me up with Dan. And I was like, whoa, my first 2 years with them, I said, okay, that's enough. They had me like going everywhere. I mean, I was lecturing all over the freaking place. I got to the point where I'm like, okay, don't get me wrong, I was making good money, but you know, I still had my construction company. So I was like, guys, and we had just had Hurricane Katrina and stuff. I was like, I can't. I said, I got to go back to the real world for a little while. I shouldn't have said it like that because he got really mad at me. I said, no. I said, because I said, and it was fun. I was making good money, but not the kind of money I make like on a hurricane. I mean, that's a lot of money we bring in on that. Just our electricians were making $300, $400, $500 a day. The guys doing our roofs were making more than that. And I ain't gonna tell you what I was making, but still, it's but once all that was done and we were caught up again, I started going out, and I've been lecturing lately, doing colleges and stuff. And matter of fact, for somehow or another, every time I do a lecture, and it doesn't matter what it is, could be UFOs and aliens, could be politics, could be anything. I have become like the Writers of the Future boy now. No matter what, I get asked every show, everyone. Somebody's got to ask me, well, what about Writers of the Future? I'm like, what about it? Can you tell me about it? I said, you can go to writersfuture.com and find out all you want to know. And I'm like, no. And then they want to know how I got involved, which is a little story in itself. And then they want to ask more questions about what goes on. But you know, I'm limited to what I can talk about because John will hurt me. But actually, Emily will hurt me. That's Emily what I'm scared. And so you know, I always tell them, and I tell them how John and I met. And y'all are friends. I said, yeah, we are now. And I said, it's a great place. I said, I've checked it out from one end to the other end. There's nothing fishy, nothing smelly, nothing. No. I said, these are great people. I said, if you can win and get there, you're going to have a wonderful time. You're going to learn a lot about a lot. And you're going to come home with a smile on your face. And you never know, you might win $5,000 while you're there. And they're all, so then they're all, like I did an English lit class as a political thing I was doing. And they were driving me nuts. I said, I'm not the writer. I'm not one of the judges. I'm just press. Oh my God. It was like an hour and a half of questions. Okay, guys, we got to get back to the topic. We got to stop this. But I have not done a lecture in the last 4 years that I haven't been asked about them. And of course, I really like them, so I always give them great press. And I want to see these people go win. I tell them, look, the only way you're going to win is, if I had $1 every time I said this, I'd be a rich millionaire. I said, the only way you can win is to submit. You have to submit 4 times a year. Just go to the website and submit.
I just finished. I just did my first round of mentoring through SIFWA. So I mentored an aspiring author through SIFWA. And whenever I go to DragonCon, I do their mentor sessions there.
You coming to DragonCon this year? I didn't mean to interrupt you. Okay, go ahead.
No, yeah. I think this has been my 3rd year in a row that I'm there. But yeah, so I always tell them, enter the contest, 1, because it's free. And 2, because as an aspiring author, there's nothing more valuable than a deadline. And Writers of the Future gives you 4 deadlines a year that you have to meet to get a new story written and submitted to them. So use it for the deadline. There's only upside to winning. It costs you nothing to enter, and it gives you a deadline, which is more valuable than gold if you're trying to increase your productivity and write new stories, because nothing moves you like a deadline.
That's good.
That's true. That works for everybody, including contractors. Yeah. That's true. Deadline will motivate you.
So, Storm, like the type of stories you're writing there, because the one that you did, because it's sort of science fiction, but it's sort of fantasy too. What do you call that genre that you're writing?
So I would say that would be, people call it science fantasy. I would call it soft science fiction for my story that won Writers of the Future. I would call it soft science fiction.
It's interesting.
I've never written any hard science fiction, like nothing that would ever show up in analog. Most of the things I've published, I would classify as science fiction. But for my like, well, so I won the MoCon short story contest that was recently published in Apex, and that one, it's a time travel story. So I would again put that as science fiction because they're using, I feel like time travel's a magic thing, like whether you're doing it with, but if you're trying to explain it with science, you're writing science fiction. And if you're trying to explain it with magic, you're doing fantasy.
Right.
I think it's about whatever you're trying to use to explain the magical thing. That's why Star Wars is science fantasy and Star Trek is science fiction, because Star Trek is trying to say all this stuff is possible through science. And Star Wars is saying, if we were in a magical universe with the Force, all this stuff is possible through science. So that's science fantasy. But for my novels, I'm focusing on fantasy because it's very important. I've learned that you create an identity as a novelist, and I would like to be an epic fantasy novelist. That's the genre I want to publish in as a novelist.
Man, near now sci-fi. Damn it, people. Damn it. I'm going to start a thing for this. I'm sorry, Storm. I can't. I've been, man,
read my short stories.
Crazy.
All my short stories are, some are far future sci-fi, but most of my short stories are near to medium future science fiction.
Send me a link, man.
It's all on my site.
So now on your stuff, so on creating fantasy, so Danny, you're just, like you said, your memoir. So do you fantasize your stuff, or is it just straight try to make it factual?
It depends. Like I said, most of what I write has been historically memoir. I have occasionally I'll have an idea for a story that's just completely fiction, and I'll go with that. And I've submitted to Writers of the Future, I think 9 times now. And most of those have been just stories that are completely fiction that I wanted to go with. Just had an idea.
Right.
But I've done some where I've taken a memoir. I'm doing that right now with my next submission for Writers of the Future. I have a memoir, and I'm actually converting that into sci-fi. And I've done it a few times before. It's worked really well in other avenues. So it just depends on whatever the whimsy feels like for that time. And to me, every story is different. Every story is going to be its unique, its own self. And I always think like, okay, what is the story that I want to tell, or what is the story trying to tell me? And I just kind of go with that. So
right.
Well, you're getting close, Danny. Most of the authors I talked to since I've been there were between 12 and 18.
Yeah.
When they won. So you're getting close to the golden number, my friend.
That's right. Well, you want to tell me? Can I tell you the brief story about my last finalist? Because it's just it's so heartbreaking. It's so heartbreaking. So I have the story that I wrote. So years ago, I was a part of this online writers group, really good group that you had to like submit a few things and they'd let you in. And somehow I fooled them into thinking that I was a decent writer. So I got in. They had a good critique group, and they had like these contests, or like monthly flash contests. I wrote one. It was really good. And I started passing it around, got some feedback, turned it into like a lot longer piece. I was really confident in it, sent it around, and everywhere that I sent it to, it was, oh, we love this. It's just not for us. We love this. It's just not for us, again and again and again. So I just kind of shelved it. I passed it around to a handful of places, shelved it. Well, a few years, like last year, I had an idea. I've read I've maybe, I don't know, a dozen or so of the Writers of the Future anthologies. So I'm familiar with the content. I know what you guys like and what you want to see. And so I decided, hey, you know what? I have the story that's lightly speculative. I can convert this one into sci-fi. And I wrote this killer, just epic ending. So great. Right. And I knew, I'm like, I know what they want. Everything I've submitted has pretty much been silver, HM. And I had the one, I wrote one, I don't hardly ever write to market, but I wrote one to market, which was the semifinalist, the one that I got with when David Hankins won. Okay. So I'm like, all right, I know how to target this thing. I'm going to tailor this to Writers of the Future. I'm going to win this sucker. So I write this, I redo it, make it a beautiful story. And so I submitted the last day in December of last year. And
emulating moon. Okay, good.
Yes, right. So I'm like, all right, here we go. This is gonna be it. And so a couple months later, whatever, I get a call from Joni, and she's like, hey, just want to let you know you're a finalist. We're gonna send it off to everybody else. And I'm like, I'm in. I'm like, now I can get through. I got through the barricades. Now I get it in front of the 4 judges. I'm in, baby. Because even if one of them doesn't like it, the other 3 will certainly love it, right? So I get away. But I know how, like, the odds are against me, but I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic. So a week later, I get a phone call, and I'm, oh, tell me the good news, Jody. And she's like, well, I don't got good news. She's like, your story. She's like, but here's what I want to tell you. She's like, out of the 40 years that we've been running this contest, we have never seen a submission period like this. Every single judge was blown away by the group of finalists. She said they were all like, what the heck is going on? Every single one of these was winner level. It was so good. Again, every single one. She's like, and they're all like, why couldn't they have just submitted to this quarter or this quarter or this one? So she's like, you wrote an amazing story. And not only that, she said, one of the judges, Nancy Kress, voted your story number 1. And then she gave me a bunch of like positive feedback from several of the judges. She's like, at the end of the day, she's like, you wrote an amazing story, a winning story. You just submitted at the worst possible time. And I'm just like, the heartbreak. Now, granted, there's no guarantees. I mean, I could have submitted. I just waited one day, John, one day, Joe, and I could have been in. But, so there's my heartbreak. I was depressed for a week. I was just laying on the couch while I was eating Cheerios. Oh, my life is over.
I got finalists before I won also. That same thing. I had a finalist, but mine happened. I had the heartbreak 2 times so I got the finalist and then I didn't get winner. But then Joni is like, okay, so they're holding it right now. Dave's thinking of including it as a published finalist. And so then like you have to wait till like the 4 quarters are over. So you have to wait 1 more quarter to see what the word count is of all the stories they end up getting.
Yeah.
And so they end up not having room for any published finalists. So twice the letdown. But I did hear, that meant that Dave, who wasn't a judge and didn't vote on, he's just the editor. That meant that Dave was like, I want to put this story in because I like it.
Yeah.
So that made me feel good. But I ended up, that's the story that went into our first anthology, Inner Workings, with those craft essays. That's the one that's in there. So I did end up publishing it, albeit myself, and through our small press. But yeah, I also got finalist before the next thing I got was winner.
Yeah.
So
it's a great thing. It's also heartbreaking at the same time. So
it's great to get there,
Yeah. So I know it's like, I know what to do. I have the capabilities. I just got to sit down and do it. And the story, it's just for me, like I just hardly have any time to write anymore. So I'll write 1 story this year. And of course it's like a behemoth. I mean, it's going to max out the word count, and I'm already 50 hours into it. And I've got probably another 25 after I go through several rounds of critique with a few people. So it's like it's not just where I'm sitting down and throwing a couple hours away. It's a big investment. So you put all that into it.
Well, and you brought up writing the market. It is important to know your market, because I usually got silver honorable mention or finalist when I submitted Writers of the Future. I think I did 6 or 8 submissions, somewhere in there. I got 1 flat rejection, and that rejection ended up being my first pro sale to Apex magazine.
Oh wow, yeah.
So it's about but the reason it didn't fit for Writers of the Future is because there was a graphic headshot execution at the end of the story. So that's just not what they generally want to do, and it's not going to work for them. So
they do have rules, people.
Yeah,
they do have rules, but that's what writersofthefuture.com is for, so you can find out what the rules are.
Yeah,
all the rules.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I've tried to write, but I can't get less than 60,000 words. Matter of fact, I was like 3 years in a row. So must be channeling Elron, because I'm just, I'd go up to bed, be like 2:00 in the morning, pull out, and guys, I'm not a writer by any means. I'm like, son of a bitch. So I got home and I was looking at this thing. I said, God, the problem is my brain works faster than my fat little fingers do. So they'd be like missing paragraphs and miss. I just deleted. I said, spleep, and just deleted the whole damn thing. I was like, because I just can't. Unfortunately, my brain just does not work the way I can't. I tried it on audio, but that coon ass accent of mine makes it hard. So I'm like, so I'm just going to give this up and do what I do, be a contractor. I actually retired now, sold my business, but I now I do radio and TV. That's all I do anymore. By the way, to the Roku audience out there, nice having y'all. We have a new Roku audience. Nice to see y'all out there. And Fire Stick will be joining us soon. So y'all will be, all these people be seeing y'all on TV, man. On real TV. 70-inch 4K is a bitch, is all I can say. Look, they see a little hair on the side of your face and that stuff. I give my host so much trouble. I'll turn him on the big screen and look at him going, let me see who I can call tonight. It's crazy. It's a lot of fun. But meeting all you writers and listening to all the judges, for someone who doesn't write at all, there was things that I didn't understand about writing, period. And listening to y'all and listening to the judges, I actually learned how to fill stuff in. I could write like a documentary all day long because that's how my brain works. But writing a story that actually made sense or had all the things you needed, like Linda walking down the street in the sun, I had no idea what filler meant. But after listening to y'all, I actually understood how it worked, how you did it. And it actually helped me quite a lot. I'm still not going to write any stories, but still, at least I understand now what you poor guys are going through, what it takes to write a good story, how much work goes into a good story. I was talking to somebody at Tulane University not too long ago. The guy said, what do you mean? I said, I talked to these winners and these judges. And I said, it makes me understand, the way their minds work and what it takes to write a good story. It's not just sitting down with a piece of paper, pen, or sitting down in front of your computer or your laptop. Actually, I know one guy that actually still uses a typewriter, which cracks me up. And he writes a book a week on a typewriter. Don't ask me how he gets up every morning, 9 to 5, 5 days a week, and gets in front of his typewriter. As a matter of fact, we were talking about it. He said, let me show you my typewriter. He said, look. I'm like, dude, you really do that? I said, your keyboard is a typewriter, right? No, Joe, I got to do this. Don't ask, man. But it is funny. So I have a much bigger respect for y'all than I did before. I mean, I've always liked a good book or a good audio tape, but I didn't really have that understanding of what goes into it. Really, not even that. It's more than just what goes into the actual writing, but your heart and soul, the way you feel when you're doing it. I have to say, from Writers of the Future, I've actually learned that. So it's easier for me to portray that to people now and say, look, these people are really working hard to get these things done. And again, people, near now sci-fi, while we're on that. Oh, wait, I'm glad I said that. Oh, wait, we got to pull this up right quick.
Well, you're on that, so.
Well, I recognize this. What's this right here? Let me go. Oh, wait, look what we got right here.
There it is.
Yeah, it is.
Up to date, finally. My son was born in February, so it was out of date for a long time, but it is up to date now.
Yeah, I can understand. Oh, man, children or something else. It's all of mine are grown now, so even my grandkids are grown. I got some great grandkids running around, but they're almost grown too. Jesus, man, I'm like ancient. It's oh, wait, what is this one?
That's the new one. That's my editorial debut.
I might have to read this one. This reminds me of something. Oh, I might have to read this. I don't want to say what it reminds me of, but it reminds me of something. It's a nice, clean website, by the way. I like clean websites.
Thank you.
Well, a lot of people do. They over clutter their websites, and it makes it irritating when you're trying to go through it. See, this sounds interesting too.
Yeah,
I've always liked dragons
because I do the Origins gaming convention. It's in Columbus, Ohio.
I'm gonna have to buy this for my wife because she's a big dragon fan.
They treat their so when you're in the author's alcove, you give them a story, they give you a table for the weekend. So you're getting paid more than full rate when you think about it, but they only sell that anthology at the event.
Oh, so I can understand that too. Yeah. It's well, ladies and gentlemen, this is Storm's website. Y'all go check it out. It's I'll publish it to the main site in a minute, so everybody can see it. Let's see. This could be interesting.
There, Carrion. That's my 24-hour story is in there. That's the link right there, and that's free to read online. Like if you just click the title, it'll take you to Carrion.
Oh, look at that, free people! Y'all can go read something for free. There ain't much free in this planet anymore, so you better go enjoy it. I see some good stuff up in here. I'm gonna have to send my.
Kevin J. Anderson's press did that one. That's through the Superstars Writing Seminars. That's their anthology. I had the leadoff story in that one.
I'm gonna have to send my wife here. I recognize this one. Yeah, I'll have to send my.
The audio is there. The big all caps here is where you can listen to it in audio on Cast of Wonders.
There you go. That's. Did he? No. I'll put his website up in just a minute. I'm just looking at it right now. Calm down, people. Jesus, don't give you any trouble. It's I see some interesting stuff in here. So I'll send my wife this thing too. She no telling. She's always looking for something to read, man. God.
Okay.
Well, she's. Let me tell you real quick. So she tells me we had like a 4,000 book Linden library before Hurricane Katrina, and because of the storm, we my house didn't get full of water, but it got just enough water in. It was like 6 inches of water in, just enough to make it like my bookshelves. The books swole is what happened.
Yeah.
And when they swole, they popped the sides of the shelves and into the water they went. And these were all, by the way, autographed. I don't keep books that aren't autographed. And so she tells me, we got to replace all these books now, right? So anytime we get an autographed book, she reads it, but she keeps telling me, well, don't we need to go places so we can get more book signs? I'm like, whatever. If it's up to her, we'd be buying it at 5-10 books a week, man. She likes to read, and like I said, she's super fast reader. No, guys, I'm gonna put this in the chat so y'all can see the link in just a second, and y'all can go over and check it out yourselves. It goes to all the only place it don't go is for you people in Roku. You're not gonna be able to see the link because you're on Roku, but everybody else, it'll pop into the YouTube and the Rumbles and the where we at YouTube, Rumbles, and Facebook, so y'all can all see it there. Because all y'all are on the chat, so you can see it in the chat. Don't sass me, people. I will bounce you to somewhere else. It's
I'm the only Storm Humbert in the world, so I'm really easy to find. You can just Google Storm Humbert.
See, it's going to print out all these at one time. It's well, people go check it out and see what's going on. I know we have different people from different groups on different things, so it's on my messenger too. I just put it on my messenger, and I'll send it out to Pal Talk in just a few minutes because you never know who's listening where. It's
and one thing too that people don't know is that some of you don't know is that we have the free online writing workshop. It's almost up to 10,000 people now in the course, wow. And it's been very, very successful. We're about ready to put up 3 more videos. Kevin Anderson, Nadia Corafor, and Robert J. Sawyer, they all 3 did additional videos, which we're about ready to load on there. We're going to do a whole little thing with that. But it's been proven really, really good. And then there's about a dozen essays that Owen Hubbard wrote, which are used in the writing workshop. So what we do now, since the pandemic is when we released the workshop. So were you able to do it, Storm, before you came out?
Yeah, we were supposed to do it before we came out. I did the original, kind of the flagship version, which is just the 3 original, like the 3 teachers of the workshop.
Yeah.
It was Orson
and
Scott
then the essays,
and David Farland and Tim Powers was all that was in there when I was doing it. And it is fantastic. I recommended it to everyone I do at the mentor sessions too. I say.
I thought it was great. Yeah, I thought it was great. I've done it 3 times. Every time I get to the right of the story at the end, I'm like, well, let's go on to something else now. Because Emily said I got to send it to her when I write a story, and I don't want to do that. So.
Are you familiar with that, Danny? That online work?
Yeah. I did most of it. I think this was a few years ago. I did all the way up through like towards the end, and then I don't know. I think I had another kid or something, and I got busy with something and haven't finished it.
It's amazing how much time they take, isn't it?
Yeah.
Christopher, anyway, Emily is an extraterrestrial from Mars. I just thought I'd tell you that. Yes.
Yeah, that's Joe's history. But on what do you remember most from that online workshop or the workshop itself? Any particular essay that stands out? Because I've talked to various writers over the years, and like certain essays stand out more than others for them as they look back.
Yeah, it's the "You Are a Factory." It's the kind of
the manufacturing
your creative process and realizing you're a professional that makes a product, and you are bringing your own talent and knowledge and perspective to it whenever you do it, but you also can do it on demand. That's the point of that essay. It's the point of the 24-hour story, is that start viewing yourself as a professional that produces a product. You can view that product as some magical, awesome, transcendent thing or whatever, but you're a professional that makes a product, and you can do it on demand because you're a professional and you're good at it.
That's one of the things that also that Kevin goes over in the video that's going to go up is like the whole idea of the myth of writer's block. And Scott Carr goes into the myth of writer's block. And it's just several authors, well, I'm going to say, quote unquote, use it as an excuse to not write. But there's lots of solutions to not writing. And what Scott says, look at if writer's block is like you've lost interest in your story, so
Yes.
where were you last interested, and go back to that. Kevin says he's always got multiple projects going at a given time. And what Humbert talks about there is that thing. You've got all different projects, because he had 15 different pen names, so he's always writing lots of different stories. But for him, he just he was always interested when he was writing. And so A.E. Van Vogt, another famous Pulp Fiction writer, saw him writing once. And he put the paper in the typewriter, and he just looked towards the wall, and he was just typing as the story played out in his mind. And he typed the story. So he was like at a composition speed of 92 words a minute, and he was submitting something like 93, 94% first submission, first draft as he was doing. But he was writing 100,000 words a month too. But he said, be willing to throw away your first 500,000 to 1,000,000 words, until you build up your own style. And your attention is not on to grammar or punctuation. You're in the groove now. Now you're just into total create, which is what he did. So how have you found that pan out for you, Storm, in terms of like attention off of your writing style and just getting into telling your story?
Well, I wouldn't say it takes attention off of writing style. It kind of gets you out of your own head about the nature of the thing you're producing. It's not some ephemeral, magical piece of creative genius or whatever. I mean, it can be those things, but it's also just, it is a story and you know how to tell stories, you know how to make characters, you know how to make settings and worlds and magic systems or whatever you need to make. And so it's about finding the right combination of these things to keep your own attention long enough to finish a story. And I would say, I forget who you said it, but I do that. When I find if I get blocked, which I don't think I've experienced writer's block in the last few years, but what I was doing post winning when I did experience it was, I used to say delete. I don't delete, I cut, but I mean cut when I say delete. I would cut everything back to the last time I was interested and just restart from that point. And it didn't matter if I did that. I cut 40,000 words. Pasted into another document. I saved it out of a novel and did that. But yeah, it's just because if you're not interested, no one else is going to be interested. So
That's right.
If you're not keeping your own interest, if you're not keeping your own attention, then you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're not doing your first job, which is to make them turn the page.
Yeah. I think there's a huge difference, when we talk about whether you want to use the word interested or inspired. I mean, it's kind of nebulous to choose between where the line is drawn. But after reading all submissions and seeing ones that like authors that we've published and then seeing other ones that they've submitted, you can tell right away when they've lost interest or they've lost inspiration in the story. It's abundantly clear right away. Yeah, it's flat right away. Like there's no spark. It's just words on a paper. And it's like, well, I'm just kind of mechanically writing because that's what I'm supposed to do. And I think like for me, I'm not saying this is for everybody, but I know a lot of other writers who do this as well. It's like, if you're at that point with your story, like you just need to stop writing for a little bit and go out and live your life, because life itself is the inspiration for your writing. And so go out and be productive, be a good neighbor, whatever that is, be good at work, and then come back. And then that's going to fuel you and help you write those stories again.
I feel like there are sometimes you can tell when someone who is, consummate pros, really good authors, when they like have a deadline or something, or they've been contacted to write something. I think you can tell when that happens because they'll still be going through the motions, the right motions to tell the good story, but it's kind of depthlessly dynamic.
Yeah.
Like stuff's happening and you're interested in maybe what's happening, but you don't really care anymore about who it's happening to or what the ultimate outcome is going to be, because there's some kind of depth that falls out of it when that interest.
Yeah. It's just mechanical. It's like the difference between what's Pinocchio being an actual boy versus just a marionette on a string, or you're just running through the motions.
So now on storytelling, because you've got like character driven and plot driven, how do you, which is your, either of you, like, what's your preference? What's your druthers?
I mean, I can't get into something that's written that's just a plot that doesn't have dynamic characters or people I'm interested in. So I think all of and I also came to writing through academia. Like I got a creative writing minor in college, then I got an MFA, so a graduate degree in writing. And so all of that is about writing character-centered short stories. So I kind of can't view stories positively that don't have engaging characters or that aren't character focused.
My girls, come up here in front for them.
I will say that I can appreciate something that's purely plot driven when it does succeed. Like the movie Knives Out, there's no character development in that movie. It's purely a plot driven movie. No one changes except maybe the woman who inherits the money by the end because she becomes confident. But really, it's just a purely plot driven story, and I can appreciate that in a movie. I can't appreciate that, I don't think, in a written text. I don't think I'd get anything out of it.
Yeah, I agree with Storm 100% on that, because in the movie it's different because you have people taking on those roles and animating them. But when you're just reading it, it's just in your mind. And it's like the way my mind works when I'm reading something that's just, maybe there's a great plot, but if there's no life to the characters, like I literally imagine them as cartoons. Like they're two-dimensional, there's no detail, there's no depth, and I just lose interest so quickly. But I mean, I'm not saying that you can't make those things work, but for the most part, like stories are about people and people matter.
And that's one thing that's one of the things that makes, like in which I've experienced because I republish all of the Hubbard stories from the 30s and 40s, and then even in the early 80s, and they're more character driven, which I've found why we're so easy for us to continue selling his stories, because they're character driven, and people don't really change. 100 years ago to maybe it's a different circumstance, but people are still people. They still are snotty, they're nice, they're kind, they're these different things here. So you can relate to people. And so the stories that happened, that were written then, they still hold water. They still work well. Which is the one that you read? Which one that you read when you came out, Storm?
What's that?
We assign every year the winners that send a story to read.
Oh, it was. I think it was a pirate one. I don't remember a great
Typewriter in the Sky.
I don't think so, because you're sending me that one now to give a blurb for. I don't think I've read that before.
Okay.
There was a pirate. I remember that.
Anyway, so what we found is, like, because we have the judges say this is my favorite Hubbard story, and so we that's what we send out, and that's what we use to the application of to show that, like, what was written in those essays this is how it was applied then, and it still works now. And that's one of the things that we did. And so it's just amazing too, like how when we release these stories with Publishers Weekly, Library Journal, Book List, audio file, we were getting starred reviews. We were getting the audiobook, the gold awards for them. And it was amazing. These are stories that were like 50, 60, 70 years old, still getting it. It's like, it's amazing when you have a good character-driven story. They survive so much better as a story.
Yeah, well, because that's what we're investing in when we read is the point of view character or characters if it's a cast. But that's your investment point. That's your avenue into the world and the plot. So like they're your first touchstone. So I think
which was the change when Campbell was brought on board to take over Astounding. He was told also to bring in a few different authors, Hubbard being one of them. And these were adventure story writers that were brought into writing science fiction because they were people-driven adventurers. And so up to that point, science fiction was more they were plastic people. There weren't really people there. It was just all these great stories and stuff like that with robots and spaceships and ray guns and stuff. So by bringing people to them, it elevated science fiction, and that was the thing that made the change in science fiction from being scientific fiction to science fiction, and move forward from there.
And I think who we remember from those eras also shows kind of the power of the character, like the writers who were able to evoke deep characters, real characters on the page. Like Arthur C. Clarke is a scientist first, but he's also still giving you real characters. Like Rendezvous with Rama is still a great character story. The Fountains of Paradise is even better than that in terms of evoking two parallel characters across time, both striving to touch the sky, kind of. And giving you a very human motivation, like to strive and to explore. And I think adventure writers transitioning to science fiction at that particular point makes a lot of sense when you talk about the kinds of things science fiction is exploring, which is the need to explore and to find out and to adventure is kind of innate to what we think of as science fiction anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's an advantage too when you go back and look at stories from generations past and those ones that are character driven. Like, it's kind of the same thing as like going to a different culture. Like, you get to experience what these people were going through that you wouldn't. It's different to today, but it's still real and it's still relevant, and it's kind of cool. It's like it's its own adventure just reading what happened, how they wrote these stories back then, and how these characters, you know, like I'm rereading Ray Bradbury's The Martian Chronicles, and it's one of my favorite books. It's so great, and I just love seeing that perspective of like the 1950s sci-fi, like from his perspective, what does the future look like, and how do these people wrestle with all these dynamics of populating Mars and interacting with each other. And it's like all these short stories, they're all character driven.
Yeah.
Like, obviously there's this very high-minded science approach, but the stories are great because it's the characters wringing each other's throats and running away and being all crazy. It's so fun.
Well, and you also talk about, I mean, you talk about stories back then, you look at how much more optimistic science fiction science fiction now. Like, they thought we had flying cars and beyond Mars, and it's like, no, people are putting Burger King on.
No flying cars. What are you talking about? We got flying cars now, sort of, kind of.
Yeah, it's
kind of, sort of.
There's a lot of end times and drudgery now.
The sci-fi, the science in it was kind of wobbly.
Oh yeah. Well, there was the really early science fiction writers. I forget which one it was. One of them wrote a story in the 40s, designed a moon lander in extreme detail that was off by just a couple of kilograms from the actual moon lander that actually landed on the moon. So because those early science fiction authors, they were scientists first, and they were writers second.
Well, you know, sci-fi is responsible for a lot of breakthroughs. When you listen to people talk, the guy was talking about who invented the laser because he used to watch, not Buck Rogers, what was, I can't remember the name of the series now. It was an old ancient ass series from 1930s or something. I'd have to look it up, but he was talking about it. He said, "Oh no, this is where I got the idea from." I'm like, "Really?" And that's how we got the first laser. And then might have been Flash. You know,
Under the Black Ensign. Was that your story that you read, Storm?
What was it?
Under the Black Ensign. That was a pirate story too that you're talking about. That
sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Carmen just texted me saying "Under the Black Ensign." I said, "Oh, okay, good."
that could be the one.
Wait, what was the one with Leslie Nielsen? He was playing the lead man. I never had seen Leslie Nielsen as a lead man before. I've always seen him as a comedian. No, it was no. It was a sci-fi. It was the first color sci-fi ever made. I think it was made in 50 something, or 51, 52. It was The Forbidden Planet. That's what it was.
Oh.
And they had some decent sci-fi in there, but when he'd pull this thing out to talk on his mic, I'd laugh every time. I could help myself. And then it's like Red Berries the Mars Chronicles. I mean, they were walking around in Mars with no suits on, no oxygen. You know, it's just.
Hey, they planted trees, all right? Yeah, they planted trees.
Don't get me wrong; it was a lot of fun to watch. I enjoyed watching it. I had never read it, but I enjoyed watching it. But you know, the sci-fi was definitely very wobbly. But
Schwarzenegger handled it by just putting his hand over that little thing, and that handled Mars.
You know, there's just stuff. You know, there was just stuff. But hey, look, they gave it a good shot. Yeah, that's all I got to say. And if it was up to them, we'd have been traveling further in space than we are now, for sure. It's we seem to be, I don't know, we seem to be behind a little bit. I guess I'll say it politely. It's if it's up to Elon, we'll be on Mars in 10 years or sooner. He's like, the hell with Earth. I'm moving to Mars, people.
Well,
Jeffrey, you got to have a pressure suit on Mars
on the way there.
Yes. Well, you know what's cool about Mars is, so y'all are young guys right now, but when you get old, you're gonna like Mars, because Mars does a couple things. So let's say you're 65 or 70, 75 years old. So if you go to Mars, first thing that's going to happen is any wrinkles in your face are going to go away. Secondly, any arthritis you have is going to go away. Actually, you won't have to take blood pressure medicine anymore, because there won't be any strains on your organs anymore, because there's no gravity there. Well, 1/6, 1/3. So all of that is a big benefit. So what they're saying is if you go to Mars at age 65 or 70, you'll live another 30 or 40 years that you wouldn't have lived on Earth. So that's kind of interesting in itself. And that's real science. I was kind of like, well, that's definitely interesting. So you'll see a lot more old people who have a lot of skills that are retired here going there and going back to work. Should be most interesting.
Science of being born and growing up on Mars means that you might end up really kind of tall and lanky with long arms, long spine, that kind of thing. But it also means you won't have the kind of support muscle structure to ever walk around on Earth.
Yeah, that's true.
Be able to withstand the gravity.
Well, one of the things NASA was talking about is if you're going to go to Mars, either in space or on ground, you're going to have a centrifuge somewhere for 1G, because if a baby is born there, it's going to have to be, if it's ever planned to come back to Earth, it's going to have to be exposed to 1G. And if not, you're looking maybe at some kind of mutation. So, I mean, really and truly, Mars, you don't have to have stairs. You can jump from floor to floor to floor. There's a lot of things there that you can't do here. Oh, my rover broke down. Let me get the jack. No, you don't need a jack. Just grab the front end, lift it up, and fix the damn thing. And so it's a different kind of world for us. We're Superman there. Like if somebody came from a 5G gravity planet to here, they're freaking Superman here. It's weird, and it's going to be weird when we get out there. But just think for writers like y'all, if y'all get to go to Mars, oh my God, what are you going to be writing about then? I don't know. And if Elon has its way, it'll be 100 ships going, 100 ships coming all the time. So it won't be a one-way trip anymore. So you'll be able to go hang out, look at the. Matter of fact, I seen the rover's night sky the other day. Oh my God, it is unbelievably spectacular view. Anybody can go see it. It's a James Webb shot, people. Mm-hmm. Not James Webb shot. It's from the rover. It is unbelievably beautiful. The stars are so dense. It's like there's like not even a little empty spot where there's not a star or a galaxy, whatever, because you never know what it is. It is it was stunning. It just caught me off guard because I was like, wow.
Yeah, even on Earth, even if you go to the Milky Way zones in the U.S., like generally in the Great Plains area where it gets dark enough at night where you can actually see the Milky Way, it won't look the same because we have an atmosphere and Mars doesn't. So it still makes it, still obscures some of the things we can see.
Yes, it's
I think it's so weird, like as a writer, to be living in this time where all these things that we used to read and write about that were science fiction are not, like, it's disqualified now. Like I can write about self-driving cars and I can write about going to, Mars, and I can write about AI taking over. And I'm like, oh, that's just
right.
Just fiction. That's not science fiction.
You know what? I got a grievance with these SOBs with these self-driving cars. First off, I want to know where my George Jetson car is, but more importantly, in order to have a car, people who are building things, it has to have wheels on it. Okay. I just want to bitch about that right now. Oh, we got a new self-driving car. No, it don't have wheels on it. It flies around with this little 4 things on top, but that's not self-driving car. And China just came out one the other day. China's going on, and I went to their website and wrote, I said, where are the wheels? The guy wrote, but what are you talking about? I said, it's not a car if it don't have wheels, my friend. I said, it can fly around all at once. That's not a self-driving car. We need wheels so it can go both in the air and on ground. Somebody's going to do it sooner or later. I've seen some rough copies here and there, but sooner or later, somebody's going to make one. I mean, with the new drone technology that we can get in and move around, and it's kind of cool.
They did it in the last Starfighter.
Yes. It's that Starfighter. Cool. That was another one of those ones that throws you off.
Playing as a spaceship.
Look, you know how many kids went and started playing video game after that freaking movie? They must have stolen so much video. It wasn't even funny.
You can buy drones that can carry a human being now.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
Well, they were using those to recover people in the flood in Texas. They were using those drones.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
But they got these new ones you can slide into, and it's got the 4 things on the side. They're bad ass looking. They look like they perform pretty well too, but still, people don't have no wheel. They got sleds on them though, so they're getting closer.
So you're saying the mafia doesn't need cement blocks and old carpet anymore? They just send the drone in, boys. Get rid of the body.
Yes. Well, see, down here we don't have to worry about that. We just cut you up pieces, throw you out in the bayou, and alligators have a good time. There's not much left up there. Yeah. Actually, somebody wrote a story about me about that. I'm not kidding you. So, I've had a couple of people from my other show, they wrote songs for the shows. Well, for my new show, somebody actually made a little video clip of don't mess with Joe, because there's a song that calls me Six Gun it's Six Gun Joe. It was made for my UFO show. That's what the song is called. So somebody decided to take that and turn it into a video, because I live out in the bayou, and they said, and this is what Six Gun Joe does in the afternoon. So it was bad, people. I had to take it down. It was bad. It was funny, but it was bad. That's the only thing YouTube's bitched at me about since what's his name became president. Before, I couldn't put anything on YouTube. I don't know what even to explain this, but Facebook, YouTube, and X had, like, because we do a lot of stuff that's on the edge. We were getting tossed off all over the place. Orange guy gets in and they're not even looking at anything. I mean, they haven't even questioned me about anything. I was like, wow. And I say some, like on the show coming on after this, I say some pretty wild stuff, and no, they don't seem to have a problem with it. So it's just weird and different, but I don't know. We'll see where it all goes. I'm funny until I see things stretch out for a decade or so. I'm not real trusting about anything, but I want my damn flying car. I reiterate that again. And I want John to win at podcast awards, People's Choice. You get out there and vote.
Yeah. Now, and then Storm, now you've got your book now. Is this other one that you just showed us? Is that out now?
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's out.
That's what I was looking at.
You go to, so the small press, I'll put that in the chat too, so you can share that, is just calendarofools.com, and that'll have a link. You can buy this pretty much anywhere you want to buy books. You can buy it through Amazon, through Barnes and Noble, bunch of places in print. Anywhere you can get an ebook, you can get it as an ebook. It's got, I don't have a story in it. I am the editor, so I have the editor's note in the beginning. Neil Clark of Clark's World wrote us a foreword, and Robert Silverberg gave us an essay, which is at the end. But then we have stories from my mentor, Samuel R. Delany, Robert J. Sawyer, Kevin J. Anderson, and Rebecca Musta have a co-written story. Gregory Norman Bossert, who's a World Fantasy Award winner. His is the anchor story that has the most. It had 49 rejections when we bought it.
Wow.
And then then we had one person in the slush pile, Lawrence Brothers. He had 60 rejections on his story when we bought it. Those were the two highest, though. We had a few in the teens and 20s. Was pretty common. Chips only had one, and Kevin J. Anderson only had one, but they were unique rejection stories that I wanted to have represented there, because Samuel Dartle, Chip is a science fiction grandmaster, and his story was rejected after that. So he'd already had his career achievement award, and then someone said no even after that. And then Kevin J. Anderson's he was invited to an anthology in the 90s, wrote the story, turned it in, and then the editor rejected him, saying, I don't like VR stories. So that was just a great, because all the stories have a rejection history printed with them too. So the author kind of tells you how this story has been rejected over the years, the different reasons they've gotten, and what they learned from it. So the aspiring authors can learn from that too. Like, what lessons can you learn about rejection or from rejection?
That's cool. And then Danny, you get your magazine, or do you have books too? How do we find that?
Yeah, so the best way is just to go to storyunlikely.com. If you're a writer, you can submit to us. So we have an open window for most of the year. When we're not doing our general submission period, we have a contest that runs annually. And so that'll open in October, and it goes through January. This year we have a great prize package. It's $5,000 that we're giving away to the top stories. And we even have a new little reprint contest too that you can submit if you have a reprint. So that's only $250 for first place of the 5,000, but still, it's still
for a reprint,
right? For a reprint. So it's kind of fun. And one of the things about us is that we're genre agnostic. So we don't care what the genre is. It can be anything you want. You can cross genres, make up your own. We don't care. We're just looking for stories that, again, the writing mechanics are high quality. The story is beautifully written and has that, that inspiration, that interest that, that you want to see in any story. And generally, like kind of we talked about earlier, we want to see good characters, but I mean, anything, like, surprise us, have fun. I think that we want to celebrate artists, and I think artists are unique. They're individuals. And if you want to go off in this direction or this direction, there's so much of the industry is kind of pigeonholed into their own thing. And that's fine, because there's a lot of options for that. But for us, it's just excellence is the key. And that's what we want to see. So we've been doing it now. This is our 5th year running the contest, and it brings in a lot of people. We have a lot of fun with it. We do it's print off. You can see it right here. This is just a sample magazine every year that we do. So a few of the stories will make
storyunlikely.com.
Yep. So ours is, you can subscribe for free. You can submit to the contest for free. We do have a membership that does give you some more perks, and that's paid. But you don't have to pay anything if you don't want to, and you can get stories sent right to your inbox. We publish usually 1 story a month. The issue goes out once a month. Sometimes we'll have 2 if it's flash fiction. We illustrate the feature story every month too, and so some people don't realize it, but you'll end up, like, what we pay our illustrators is more than what you get paid for most places that you will submit your story to anyway. They don't, a lot of people don't see the production value that goes behind it. But we put everything we have, because it's kind of like Writers of the Future. You guys have a small, and just like if you're doing Storm, you're doing an anthology. It's not like you're not publishing 100 stories. It's a limited window. And so because we do that, we work very closely with the authors, and you kind of get that personal touch that is kind of elusive nowadays in the publishing industry. We have great feedback. We just put up a testimonials page from our authors that we work with. I mean, I just get, every single time we work with someone, they're just like blown away. They're like, oh, I'm so appreciative of the time and effort that you guys put into this, and working with you, and how to make the story the best it could possibly be. I've had, experiences over the years with other publishers, as everyone has been. There's a litany of experiences that you can have. And as a writer, first and foremost, like, I want to make sure that everybody who works with us has that fun and good experience, and can walk away from it and being proud of what they accomplished, and can point to it and show their friends and family and be like, hey, I wrote that, and you can go read it. So that's a little bit about us.
That's great. And then we haven't really shown so much this one here. This is the current volume of Writers of the Future, volume 41. It's still a new release. It came out in April, and it just released in UK and Australia and South Africa last month. So it's a brand new release out there. It's got 12 amazing writers and 12 amazing artists that are being celebrated. And so
yes, people.
We also have the audiobook as well, which you can get too. They're available wherever books are sold.
Yes, and you see, mine's always up there until we take it down. No, what? No, we're not giving that one away. It's an autographed copy. It's not giving away. Whoever asked me that. No, I might have 141 I'm gonna give away. I had 4 of them, but they're all unique. 2 of them are from walking around with everybody and getting them copied on the day they do their signing, and 2 of them are those 2 plus when I meet their families and stuff at the gala. I'll usually ask them to sign it too. They're very unique. What do you mean? No, I'm not selling them. They're not going anywhere. They're staying back there, or they're going on my other thing. I didn't know. No. That's not how it works. But I do usually give away 1 of each of the 2 autographs. Yeah, they're very unique autographs. You're not going to get them anywhere else. That's all I can tell you. So, you mean book 36? Yeah, that's here. I got 2 autographed ones from them too. I got a pretty Storm signature in there. They were so funny this year. Everybody was signing my book. I said, I'm not signing your book. I said, you know what? My handwriting looking like chicken scratch. They made me do it anyway.
Yeah, that was another thing I learned at the gala, is to make your author signature different than your legal signature.
Yes, yeah. That's important too.
A very important lesson.
Because if not, people get you. No, Gene, that's so that somebody doesn't come in and they see your signature, then they can copy it.
That was Dean Wesley Smith's advice while we were sitting there at the signings. He's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, don't sign this the same way you signed a check."
Yeah.
Anyway, we got to wrap up because I got another show coming up, so I got to get my butt moving. I can tell you. Sorry, that's my burglar alarm. It's actually my storm alarm. We got a big storm rolling. I've been hearing it crackling for a while. But I want to thank both of y'all for coming on. John will send you the numbers later on, but I can already tell you, last time I looked, we were like 3.5, so we're going to be higher than that because it's close to the end of the show. But anytime you want to come on, if you ever want books, send them to me. They'll go back there. And usually starting Thanksgiving till New Year's Day, we give books away every day. every day, and right around Christmas I go just like insane and give books away. And then I send them when we give away lightsabers. I always send 2 or 3 books with a lightsaber as well. It's so it's fun. Teach people how to read. I live in a illiterate state. Okay, so I'm all for giving out books. Matter of fact, I live in an illiterate state with 2 illiterate states on each side of me. So Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama are not the best well-read states. New Orleans might be a little bit better, but really and truly, anything I can do to get people to read, I'm going to do. And so I try hard to get people to get out there and read. Especially there's good stories, fun stories.
Anyway, thank you very much, Storm. It's been great seeing you and talking to you again. Love that jacket. That's that
looks good, man.
Jacket. Yes.
Thank you.
And nice meeting you, Danny.
Great talking with all you. Great meeting Danny.
Yeah, nice meeting you guys, John, Joe.
You're welcome anytime, guys.
Appreciate having us on, and it was a pleasure meeting you. I really enjoyed it.
If you see Wolf, tell him I said hi.
Yeah, absolutely, I will.
Okay.
Right.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye-bye, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, that was a quick wrap. We got to get out of here and get my butt moving. I got to get ready for the next show that comes on in just about less than 20 minutes. And if y'all want to come by, that's the chat. I don't know. John made this crazy show. I have no idea why he did this, but we're blaming it on John. On that note, goodbye and see y'all in 20.